Good question, yes. So Bitcoin was such a giant and actually was the forerunner. And just to give you an idea of the growth in cryptos, in 2015 we were 1 billion market cap, and most of it was Bitcoin. Then 16, 20 billion, and then we've touched 100 billion this year so far in 17. So that just gives you a little bit of that early doors parabolic feel of where this thing is going. Of course, there's been some proper smashes on the way down, but people will highlight that and forget where we are today. So nothing that is that volatile on the up is not going to have a few nasty spikes. And this has actually coined the phrase, excuse the pun, HODL, which is HODL. Sounds like hold, spelled back the wrong way around, but it's hold on for dear life, which is a popular phrase where people say that. Because people are being taught that every time it smashes down, it actually serves you in the long run not to be shaken out at the bottom. I think that rule may work for a while longer still, but I don't see it as a long-run trading principle, and it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride. That's where methodology and a good mindset comes in, and it saves you some of these white-knuckle journeys.
What do you think has led to the recent surge of Bitcoin value?
Well, it's been around for a while, it's not gone away. Every major dip has then ended up in a far greater rally. People are starting to recognize the cycle and the pattern. More examples of where it can be utilized and purchased. Starting to have a cool, techie, man about town, switched on, early adopter type feel to it now. It's no longer a complete geek. Only the complete geeks know about it, so it's starting to get more early mainstream acceptance. And as the apps and applications continue to proliferate for its use, as it continues to turn out to be a good investment, more money is going to chase it. So there's a bit of a self-feeding and self-fulfilling prophecy about it. And as I mentioned, I still assess on balance of probability a lot of fiat has to get out and into this space still. So it's one of the big players in a growing game. So it's very well positioned.
Earlier on we touched upon all the other coins that are out there and how sometimes you don't go with the first one because you never know what troubles it might encounter. But just thinking, Apple at one stage looked like they were going to be out of the game and Microsoft was going to take over. And then they came back with a whole new angle and now they're a huge player. Do you think there's the potential that, as you said, people emotionally invest in the first one, that they feel a love for it, that people may nurture Bitcoin so it becomes a bit like that, even though the younger models may take over a bit, that it might be the steadfast one that keeps coming back?
I was certainly a student of the Apple case study because I remember the first part of the story, when Commodores and the first Macintoshes all came out, and that is rather unique. So it's the exception rather than the rule. And it was more a case of a very visionary product-based founder that came back twice with blockbuster products, not just once. So he was a pretty exceptional person. And I mean, the iPod essentially saved Apple and then bought him time to get into the iPhone and then, all the eyes now. And then the Mac started to become popular because you had the family. So it was great, but they were reduced to being not very long before they were going to be another Polaroid, another IBM even. IBM used to make hardware. People forget now they're kind of a quasi consulting company outfit. So they re-engineered themselves, but they've never reached former glories. So most instances you don't have that comeback. But with the right forking decisions, Bitcoin has the brand of being the predominant. So when people think cryptos, they think of that B with the double lines to it, in the same way you have the dollar, etc. So they could be that. They could be that horse. I just think there's a lot of innovation going on. I do feel the war for developers, because a lot of the technology will be about quality of developers, clear line of sight of vision, and owning a niche. That is going to be where it is. So there's very small ICOs that come on that have 3 or 4 developers. They're never going to be anything too big. It's like mom and pops. In gold mining and oil mining during the Rockefeller era, there were lots of small holdings for gold, lots of small holding for oil. But what ends up happening is the small ones gets flushed out into giants and unicorns. And we all have our views about how Rockefeller went about owning essentially the oil industry. but you know the small guys get squeezed out. So the key thing, if it's technology, will be who has the great developers and who has a clear-sighted business vision to make things happen, and they'll mop up.